Welcome to the Yellowjackets Hive, presented by cordcutting.com. I'm Media Melanie here with...
And I'm Emily.
And we are back with our live streams, everybody. We decided, since we never covered season one, aside from a season summary, we were going to recap and speculate and rewatch season one now that we have a little more context. So
Yes.
Here we are. We're going to live stream. We're going to do 2 episodes at a time. We're going to do it on Thursdays at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time, probably every other week. So stay tuned for that. And we wanted to open by saying we're also doing a giveaway for anybody who's tuning into the live stream. We are going to give away a Hive After Dark t-shirt from our shop at yellowjacketshiveshop.com. If you'd like to enter, drop 3 soccer ball emojis at some point throughout this live stream, and we will randomly select a winner and announce it tomorrow. So good luck, everybody.
Yes, good luck.
And quickly, before we dive into our episodes 1 and 2 from season 1 recap, we just wanted to touch upon some shows that we're watching. We've noticed in the Facebook discussion group, everybody is asking for show recommendations during the hiatus. So Emily, what have you been watching?
Well, of course, I've been watching Only Murders in the Building, which I know you watch too, and it's been so great. I'm also watching The Bear, which is on Hulu, and I know you also watched that one too.
Are you on season 2 yet or season 1?
No, because I'm watching it with my husband, so I have to go slow.
Yes, the
If I were
respectful
watching it
spouse
alone,
watch.
yeah, if I were watching it alone, I would have already watched the whole thing.
Definitely.
And obviously, I'm watching Yellowjackets as well for this recap, for this rewatch. And that's really it. I mean, last night I watched the presidential debate, which really wasn't exciting, but
but important nonetheless. Yeah. So absolutely. I've been doing some Watch This Wednesday posts and for cord cutting, and different shows I've recommended recently that I'm watching are Dark, which is on Netflix, which I absolutely love. It is a German show. It's very mysterious. There's a dark symbol. There's some mysteries, time travel. Highly recommend. I've finished Evil on Paramount Plus already, but for anyone who's not watched that, highly recommend. And I just started Based on a True Story on Peacock. It's got Kaylee Cuoco, and it's about a married couple who are trying to do a podcast with a serial killer, and it's a comedy. It's really funny. It's about murder in a podcast. So I'm only on episode 2 or 3, but love it. Absolutely.
I definitely want to check that one out. Yeah,
yes.
That's on my list.
Definitely. Highly recommend. And visit tinyurl.com/watchthiswednesday for more of our Hive recommendations in our Reddit sub, which is run by the fabulous Emily, who puts so much time into that. Thank you, Emily. Buzz, buzz, buzz.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
Yes. Well, thank you. We did something called Yellowjackets Would You Rather during our season 2 after show. So kind of thought we'd kick off by doing a Would You Rather. Emily, I'm going to would you rather you. Are you ready for it?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather have your leg accidentally broken, such as Ty broke Allie's leg, or would you rather risk climbing a tree and then be traumatized by your dead family member falling out of this tree onto the ground?
I think I would have to go with my leg accidentally being broken. I don't think that me climbing up a tree would be a good idea. And that scene was one of the most jarring scenes of the whole season, I thought, in my opinion, when he falls out of that tree. So yeah, I would definitely skip that one.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing. And also just the long-term trauma of having endured that, I think would be also pretty jarring. So a leg break, you're probably going to heal. You might have some long-term injuries, but at least you're not falling out of a tree and experiencing that trauma. So right there with you.
Yeah.
Right there with you. Okay, so episode 1, the pilot. Emily, read the description that Showtime has on their site.
On the eve of a fateful flight, a championship high school girls soccer team celebrates by betraying one another. 25 years later, the survivors do their best imitations of well-adjusted people.
That's right. And imitations is right, because as we now know in season 2, they're not very well adjusted, some more than others, and some are better at hiding it than others. But The pilot, now in looking back in a rewatch fashion, really sets the tone for everything we've seen so far. It also still has some questions we do not have answered, but there's a lot of foreshadowing. And now looking back, we also know there's a lot of red herrings. So we're going to just kind of run down the main things that happened in the pilot and then go from there and try to speculate a little bit and analyze these things that happened. So, Emily, why don't you start with the episode summary?
So in 1996, the Yellowjackets are planning a trip to Seattle for a national soccer tournament. During practice, Thaisa tackles Allie, a freshman, and breaks her leg. At a party, Shauna says Allie can no longer travel to Seattle to participate in the tournament because of her injury. And that scene when they all get together in the pilot is my favorite scene of the pilot, when Jackie lines them all up in a row and makes them go down and say one nice thing about each other. And I just think that the things that were said were so, like, they were like important and showed you about their character, like what we would see happening throughout the course of the show. Like she said, Jackie says Thaisa is the most determined person she's ever met. And we see Thaisa's determination take them on an expedition for help, and Van almost dies. Like,
That's
so
right. That's right. And Laura
thing.
Lee, she says, I admire your faith. And of course, we know that Laura Lee's faith was something that kind of kept the hope alive out there. And then as we find out later on, spoiler alert, don't listen if for some reason you've not watched season 1 and 2, we find out Laura Lee dies, and it's at that point when the hope really goes away and kind of dwindles. So you're spot on. Those are absolutely important assessments and really set the table for what's to come for each of the characters. And one more thing, them standing in a circle is as well. They stand in the circle when they're burying the body. See them standing in the circle at we start to notice these types of patterns, and that is one of them, even though I guess they're more kind of like in a line, but it's the same thing. They're all standing around and convening on something. So I thought that was interesting too.
They do it in Lottie's like prayer circle that she makes them all be a part of too. They're all in a huge circle there. And they're all in a huge circle when Shauna's in labor and they're like sacrificing their blood to save her or whatever they did.
That's right. They sure do. And you know what? I'm going to put up a spoiler alert banner here for anybody watching, because I do feel like we're going to inadvertently talk about things that happen. Again, this is a rewatch. We are also recapping, but there are going to be some spoilers here. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come watch later.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So, on the actual day of the trip, we see the team boarding the private plane chartered by Lottie's wealthy dad. And of course, we know the plane crashes and the survivors are out there for 19 months in the wilderness. And then we start to see the present day timeline come together, the 2021 timeline. Shauna is approached by Jessica Roberts, fake journalist. And Thaisa is running for state senator, and Misty is a geriatric nurse, and Natalie has now gotten out of rehab and is looking to reconnect with some old friends now that she's found her purpose again. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, but there's some very specific things that we really need to go through and analyzing. Starting with the pit girl scene.
Yes. How can we not?
That's right. And, you know, we actually got to speak with the special effects supervisor who worked on the pilot and who actually constructed Pit Girl. That is one of our cord cutting exclusive videos. You can watch it at tinyurl.com/pitgirl. But why don't we go ahead and just play a quick clip from that exclusive interview for you now.
So when you took the body to the set, was it like, did you put it together in pieces or was it all in one piece? How did like the assembly go?
It was already like this.
Okay.
So we had the body like that, carrying it like a frozen body, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the board that it goes on. So we knew we were going to place it on the board. We knew that all the stakes go in the certain places so they could like screw into place, you know, through a hole that we created in the body. And so it was like a giant model kit. You know, you've got the board, you've got the stakes, they screw in, body, position everything, and then we lowered it into the pit on ropes.
Wow.
We knew that you'd need it to be stable, right? To get it down there that deep and to get it into position. And then you get snow kicked onto it to hide all the, the wood and the, the screw points and all that.
That was a really fun interview. Mike McCarty works for Autonomous FX, and they did all these special effects in the pilot, including the broken bone, which we saw, and also, Emily, another scene that was supposed to be filmed that wasn't.
Yes. He told us that when they created Pit Girl, they also created a mold of her foot. And in the pilot, you can see that her foot is bleeding. You see bloody footprints. But he said that that mold was supposed to be used to, that we would have seen a twig like break through her foot. And that is obviously what caused the blood. But for some reason, they just didn't choose to film that scene. So I was thinking maybe if they revisit this scene again in the future, maybe they will show us something to that effect.
That's right. And we really didn't get much more information on Pit Girl, even in season 2. So I think it's expected eventually we're going to learn more. Maybe we'll see more scenes, which, I don't know, will they reshoot them? The initial Pit Girl pilot scenes were all shot with extras. So as we also know, this person here we see standing over the pit, and all the Cannibal Council members were all extras except for Misty. So we can't actually take any real clues as to who Pit Girl is, knowing that the actual Pit Girl herself was not even involved in that whole scene.
Yeah, and if you look at Misty in this picture, I pulled this picture up specifically because not only do you see her face, but the jacket that she's wearing underneath the fur is something that drew my attention from the moment that I saw it, because that jacket is Mari's jacket. And we all know how Mari feels about Misty. So,
yes,
to me, that means that maybe there's a chance it really could be Mari. Why else would she be wearing her clothes? I know that there's so much speculation on who it could be, but she's definitely like one of my top contenders for who it is.
I think we all feel that way. Although at the same time, I also think, wow, Mari would be a really good reveal for another adult survivor. However, I feel like the chances are better maybe that it ends up being Coach Ben, or who knows, maybe it's Jen or Melissa. So, I mean, we don't know. Or Akilah.
Yeah.
We don't know. We've definitely been able to rule out some people after the end of season 1. So we know who it is not, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Jessica Roberts, we get an introduction to in this pilot, and she tells Shauna something interesting. She says, I know you've been letting other people tell your story.
Yeah.
Who are these other people? We know that there's a book out there that we saw in Adam's apartment, Skin in the Game.
Yeah.
Yep. And we saw a magazine article.
Unauthorized story underneath it, though. So
that's right. Who wrote it? Who is this source? Could it have been Allie?
That was my guess, but since it says unauthorized, it makes me think that it's somebody that like had no part in it at all. And maybe they talked to one of them at some point and they exaggerated what they were told or something like that. But Allie definitely crossed my mind when she said, I know you've been letting other people tell your story. Because if they really did stick to this one story that they told everybody from the minute they were found, then what other story is out there? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I feel like somebody had to have talked to someone at some point and it got taken out of context, maybe.
That definitely could be. And touching upon Andy again's comment here, I ask because in both scenes, the white clothes are very, very clean and not torn. If the scene happens in the second season, how is the nightgown so clean and intact? We're talking about Pit Girl again, of course. And we now know that they are actually doing laundry out there. We did see them doing laundry. So there is a chance that they are laundering these things. I mean, they don't have bleach. Perhaps somebody found some natural stain removal products, or that is a good question. I don't know how the nightgown is so pristine, but maybe it's a suspension of disbelief situation. So
maybe it's only worn for that event. so it doesn't have as much of a chance to get dirty because it's not worn every day like all the other clothes.
Right, that's true. And definitely not worn during the winter. It was
Yeah.
more of a summer nightgown. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, interesting. Something interesting that Shauna said to Jessica Roberts was something you were talking about in the Facebook discussion group. Shauna says that we starved, scavenged, and prayed. And
Mhm.
prayed, does that seem like a play on words to you?
Oh, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it could be perceived to be prayed like they prayed or they preyed on each other for food.
Mm-hmm. Very clever. Very
Yeah.
clever. And it seems like nobody's really given up anything to Jessica Roberts yet. So, of course, we
No.
all now know the fate of Jessica Roberts, too. Spoiler alert. So,
Yeah.
looking back again is very interesting. Hindsight is 2020. So,
Yeah.
that's
It's been so interesting to watch season 1 again after watching all of season 2. It just makes me look at it in a totally different light.
that's right. That's right. The scenes of Pit Girl being interspersed with Nat in rehab.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
A lot of people think that they did that to show that Natalie was involved in what we were seeing happen. Like maybe she was the person dragging her body, maybe she was the person like pulling the rope to hoist the body up like in the tree, but it would make sense for her to be involved if they're showing her as an adult at the same time. Like why cut that scene with that scene? For any other reason.
Right. I mean, everything they do seems to have some sort of rhyme or reason. So
Yep.
that definitely makes sense. And another little nugget is Natalie wearing purple in the
Mhm.
first scene when we see her in rehab, which now we know heliotrope, of course, is the color of Charlotte's colt in season 2. So do you feel that was intentional?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do.
Yeah, for sure. And I see some commentary here about the rat in the pool. Could that have been foreshadowing for what we now know about the fate of somebody out there who fell through the ice and did not make it? Was that a 1-2 punch, or was that just kind of showing who Misty is as a character?
I don't know. I don't know what I think, honestly, in that regard. That's a good question.
It is. And, speaking of people falling through ice, we have a really fun new design in our Yellowjackets shop, yellowjacketshiveshop.com. Wish you were here with the symbol with a hand extending through the ice as it is falling and drowning. And thanks to Erin, one of our designers, for putting that together. But
She's so
fun,
good.
fun new design. She's so good. We have another one too. We hear the wilderness and it hears us. Of course, they are all on various items, and you can buy your merch at yellowjacketshiveshop.com.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, what other instances are there in the pilot where we think there's some foreshadowing going on?
When they're in the locker room after Allie breaks her leg and Jackie starts talking to them, trying to give them a pep talk and make them all forget the fact that Allie just broke her leg. Natalie says to Jackie, "You could see her fucking bones, Jackie. It's just as bad as it sounds." And listening to that after watching season 2, it just made me think about like the fact that Natalie was the one that like took Jackie's bones to the plane and left them there to be buried when the ground thaws. And also like Jackie was technically like eaten to the bone. So in that sense, it could be like mean either or. I don't know if that's what they intended, but that's what it made me think of.
Right. Another
Yeah.
instance where it could definitely be tying back to that and coming full circle. And one thing, just in general, I think with the pilot that struck me is the stark contrast in the happiness and the normal teenage
Yeah.
vibe of the girls. They're at their meeting with Coach Ben. which, by the way, again, the placement of the heads is funny because it
Mhm.
does end up, there's another shot where it looks like he has one leg, but it
Yes.
is funny the way that they kind of they crop that out, and of course we know what happens to him. But yeah, I mean, in general, things start spiraling kind of fast because they're having this great time in the locker room, they're having the pep rally, and then of course, things start kind of falling apart, they start fighting in the woods, and then things really start spiraling, of course,
Yeah.
with the whole plane situation. So,
Yeah.
and from where they started in season 1, from where they ended in season 2, especially for Van, who is this
Mm.
comic relief, who has all these excellent one-liners, to towards the end of season 2, when she has these looks on her face like she's the darkest one of all of them out there.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's such a major character transformation throughout this
For
entire
sure.
show, and we're only 2 seasons in with 3
Yeah.
left. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially Van. Like, now that you said that, yeah, she goes from being like the one that you go to when you feel down and you need to be cheered up, to the one that's like the wilderness chose. Like, it's such a change.
Yeah, definitely. It sure is. And another interesting line from the pilot was Shauna saying, "If someone is digging, we are all fucked." What do
Yeah.
you think she's referring to?
The obvious, I feel like, would be that they hunted each other and ate each other for food to survive. But like, it makes me also think, could there be more to it than that? Because if that's like the big secret, like, we've already found out what the big secret is. Like, I feel like there's something else. Like, maybe they purposely left someone behind in the wilderness and they don't want anyone to know that they left a person out there. Maybe they left Coach Ben out there. Maybe he hung out in that tree cave for months and didn't know they got rescued and is now living alone in the woods. I don't know.
I don't know either. And of course, we know, spoiler alert once again, the baby situation.
Yeah.
We have now found out that, spoiler alert, Jeff knows about the baby, and now Callie knows about the baby. And
Mhm.
something funny from the pilot, too, by the way, is the family photos on the wall. We
Yeah.
saw another girl with Callie, and initially she was actually supposed to have an older sister named Molly,
Yes.
which of course does not come to fruition. So before we knew that, we were kind of speculating, like, what's the deal with that? Or did
Yeah.
she have the baby and give it up for adoption?
Yep.
We now know that is not the case, and we now know that both Jeff and Callie are now aware of the baby. Jeff's known all along. Callie was just informed of that in season 2. So, whew. And also, if we took a literal interpretation to Andy again's comment, like if someone takes shovels and digs up the ground around the crash site, that's a possibility too. I mean, they
Yeah.
did bury the bodies of people who died in the crash, but like Jackie's bones, for instance, I
Yeah.
mean, the way that they look, I imagine, would not be the same as a
No,
regular crash survivor, since she was
I don't
literally
think
eaten
so.
to the bone, as we discussed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it would look different. I think that if they buried Javi's bones too, they would also have looked different because he was actually like fully like dismembered. Like, Jackie was cooked all in one piece, but Shauna like butchered him. So his remains would be even worse for someone to find.
100%. I'm going to put
Yeah.
up the spoiler alert thing again, just because we are going to so many spoiler alerts. So, yes. And then also, I saw a comment here from Shift. The crash site and campsites have got to have a bunch of wild evidence. I've always wondered, how in depth did they go in searching for those things? Did they remove the bodies and bring them back for burial for the
Yeah.
families? Did they
Yeah.
leave them out there? How much searching did they do? Did they find the baby? There's just
Yeah.
so many questions about how in depth they searched. And to your point, what if Coach Ben was still out there hiding in a cave? How thoroughly
Yeah.
did they search? I mean, what if there was another survivor that they left out there? And also, how did they
Yeah.
get rescued? And also, how did the plane crash? I mean, we still have so many questions.
Yeah. Some I don't think we'll ever get answers to, and we'll have to just be okay with that. But I hope we get answers to a lot of them.
I hope so too. I hope so too. And another thing we've learned since the pilot was that throughout season 1, a lot of the fandom was speculating that Adam was actually Javi. We now know that that is not the case.
Yeah.
But they did a really good job of planting that seed and making us think that he could be, because he was invested in Shauna. I mean, he knew who she was. We saw his art studio. And I'm curious if we're ever going to get more resolution on Adam, who, of course, we're just introduced to now in these first couple episodes. But
yeah,
I don't know. Do we think that the Adam mystery is dead now, like Kevin Tan? Or do we think that we'll get more answers?
I don't know. Like, if Saracusa isn't gone, then that makes me think that maybe Adam could come into play. Like, maybe he doesn't, like, take Walter's advice and, like, let it just be wrapped up in a bow, and he does something about it. But I don't think it would go that far. So I don't know. I don't know what else they could do, unless he really was somehow involved in, like, Lottie's group or something like that, because we saw that crazy back tattoo he had.
We did. And we know that they had graded it off, so
Yes.
it wasn't used as the prime identification thing for his body, but his tattoo is just still so suspicious. It looked a lot like Javi's drawings, which, again, maybe it all just played into the fact that they were going to have Adam be Javi and they didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. And Andy is pointing out Adam could be related to Walter. Maybe Walter knew Adam's mom for real, not from Citizen Detectiving. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. But overall, the pilot was really used as a device to set the proverbial table, give us some really good insights into who each character is. We did get to see some little peeks into the teens' family lives, not all of them, but some of them. We saw Natalie's family, Van, Ty, Lottie, and we've not met the Taylors or the Shipmans, however, in the teen timeline yet. So we still have a lot to learn about some of the girls' families. And Misty's family we didn't see. We just saw her sitting in the backyard with that drowning rat.
Yeah.
But we've not met Mr. and Mrs. Quigley, who I'm kind of dying to know what her parents are like. Just saying.
Me too. Me too.
So what was your favorite scene from the pilot?
Definitely the scene at the party where they all stand in the row and they all say something nice about each other. I love how Van is like, Laura Lee, you have really shiny hair. that was like the best thing she could come up with.
Yes, that was really funny. And again, there is some comedy interspersed in Yellowjackets. It's obviously a very serious show dealing with themes of trauma throughout both timelines. And Van, again, is just always so hilarious. And unfortunately, we see that digress a little in the second season. But first season, Van just kills it. I love her one-liners. She is hilarious. For me, I feel like it's Misty stuff for me. Like when she applies pressure to the broken leg, when we're watching her drowning the rat, when she springs into action. I've just loved Misty from the very get-go of the show, and I love everything about her character. I think she's so dysfunctional, and I love those Misty moments. I can't help it. For me, the most disturbing thing in the pilot was watching Shauna masturbate to Callie's boyfriend. I still can't get over that. Every time I watch it, I still think, really, Shauna? I mean, in a way, it's maybe a coping mechanism, like her trying to relive her teenage days, because it's like they're almost like stuck in the past. But that gets me every time. Like, just please stop.
It's so gross.
Like, please stop. Especially after like the murder fingering situation from like Jeff and Jackie in the beginning. It's all just like, wow, this is escalating kind of fast here. So that's my take on that. But also another interesting thing from the pilot before we move on to F Sharp was Coach Martinez. First of all, we saw some tension with their family as well, which feeds into Travis and who he is as a character. But the coach having that talk with Jackie about the influence she has over the team. And then now we know how that influence really declines once they're out in the wilderness, because Jackie's never had to like deal with difficult things, and she's not equipped like some of the other ones are. So
no, not at all.
There were definitely some telltale signs and red herrings. The whole line with Shauna saying, you know, if you come inside me, we're going to raise the baby to be a killer and hunt you down.
Yep.
That was a great red herring because that kept our hopes alive that the baby was indeed out there. Again,
Yeah.
spoiler, rest in peace, wilderness baby. Did not make it out of the wilderness, but amazing foreshadowing that, seeing Lottie with her meds in the teen timeline, seeing Shauna as the butcher and her comments about the chuck and butchering the rabbit and making the chili. All of this stuff, again, is just doing such a great job at setting the tone for what we're going to see throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Like Andy said, the one thing you have that no one else does, influence. Yeah, Jackie, you have that for a while, but then it goes away pretty fast.
Yeah.
Pretty fast. So, on to episode 2, F sharp. Let's also just really quick, if you're watching live and you haven't already, drop 3 soccer ball emojis. We are giving away a Yellowjackets Hive t-shirt to somebody who is watching the live stream with us. So drop 3 soccer balls. Again, we're randomly going to choose somebody. So don't sleep on that. And again, we'll pick a winner. So thanks for doing
now's
that.
your chance.
Yes, anytime throughout the broadcast. So go for it. Okay, episode 2, F sharp. Emily, read the episode description.
The teens get their bearings as Misty finds hell on earth quite becoming. In the present, revenge, sex, homework, and the policeman formerly known as Goth.
That's right. And now that we know the fate of Kevin Tan, it kind of breaks my heart a little every time I see him on screen because I just feel like, he tried so hard. He was trying to do the right thing and get a drink with Natalie, rekindle their friendship that they had, and it doesn't work. I mean, Nat ends up just using him, and then Walter really does what he does. So I just don't love knowing what happens to Kevin Tan. So it just brings up so many more emotions doing this as a rewatch versus having watched it for the first time. I feel so many things like the entire time. I think the only episode I'm not going to be able to rewatch is season 2, episode 6, Key. Only episode I've not been able to rewatch, but all the rest of them, I like it. I like the insights. So
yes, same.
So why don't you give us a brief rundown of what happens, the major key points from episode 2, F sharp.
Okay. Well, Misty uses her first aid training for the injured, including saving Coach Ben and amputating his leg and then cauterizing it, which was crazy to watch. Travis discovers his father's dead body impaled on a tree branch. This is also the first time we see the symbol in the teen timeline. It's on a tree right after Coach Martinez falls out of the tree.
It looks freshly carved. Does it not look freshly carved? I mean, just saying, it looks very fresh to me.
They pan over to a tree and it's there. Yes, we'll get into that, the carving of the symbol, in a little bit.
Yes.
Misty is an important part of the team because she's using her first aid skills to keep everybody safe and wrap broken limbs and bandage up cuts, stuff like that. And she freaking kills it. Like, she steps into that role so quick, and she is like loving every second of it. Like, every second of the chaos she loves.
She is, and she really feeds into it because eventually we know she destroys the flight recorder box, which we know because we've spoken to an expert that it's actually not that easy to destroy in the first place.
Yeah.
And also, it wouldn't be sending a signal out unless it was in water. So those are 2 facts we know about black boxes. So even though she destroyed it, it wasn't going to be getting them rescued anyway. However, nobody else knows that. So in essence, she's destroyed all this hope.
Yeah.
More in a symbolic way because it wouldn't have gotten them rescued. But what a crazy move. And early on, that establishes Misty is just unhinged.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching it for the first time and just thinking, this chick is crazy. Like, she is the craziest of the crazy. And I am here for every second of it.
Did they burn the leg? Hold on a second. Did they burn Coach Ben's leg? I don't remember that. Vine,
I thought they buried it.
I thought they buried it with a with a grave marker, right?
Yeah, there was a grave that said Coach Ben's leg.
Okay. Oh wait. It was buried by the plane, which we'll see, I'm pretty sure, in the show, but also behind the scene photos. Okay, it was buried by the plane. Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, they burned it? And at this point, they're not going to have eaten it. So anyway,
No.
whew! I see our 3 soccer ball emojis popping in there in the comments. Everybody, don't forget to drop your 3 soccer ball emojis for a chance to win a t-shirt.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Okay. So then in the 2021 portion of the show, the episode, Shauna and Jeff are advised by a therapist to rekindle their passion in their relationship by exploring their sexual fantasies, which that scene always makes me laugh, like, because of all things that Jeff could say that he wants to like do, he wants Shauna to be a client at his furniture store, which it's not like
Loves
the first thing.
furniture.
Yeah. It's not the first thing I would think of when I imagine like my fantasy. But
No. And it's funny because like when they're sitting at the table talking about something, Callie and Shauna are kind of in their own world, and Jeff's there talking about, what do you expect if you buy a $300 sofa, blah, 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 leather or whatever fancy furniture term. So I thought that was funny because they're both ignoring him. And also note Callie wearing the pink and the green. Do you think that's a reference to the college dorm room colors? Because those are the colors
Rutgers
that
colors,
that Jackie mentioned to Shauna would be their dorm room colors, which is funny because again, Jackie's like so the boss of Shauna, and
oh yeah,
that along with her dictating her wardrobe that they wear to the party, there's so many like Jackie's a boss thing, and boy does she fall hard from that role once they get out into the wilderness.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff and the furniture, and you're right, of all the fantasies, I mean, like that's the fantasy. It's funny because Shauna never mentions her fantasy though, and I can't even imagine what her actual like real fantasy would be. It's probably got to be pretty dark and maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it would be a lot.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So then Shauna meets Adam after she rear-ends his car. Natalie holds Misty at gunpoint in an attempt to find out who sent her the postcard with the symbol on it. It becomes clear to us that all the survivors were sent a postcard except for Shauna, which to this day, I still question that, because a lot of people think that because Jeff was the blackmailer and he sent the text messages, that means that he was the sender of the postcards. I do not agree with that. I don't think the postcards were Jeff. He admitted to sending the text messages. Why would he not admit to sending the postcards if he sent them? And I just feel like that is above Jeff's head. Like he would never come up with that concept on his own.
And he was working with Randy, and let's point out that Randy also was not coming up with that concept, given that he's like, you know, asking who invented the Pope, and he once had a run-in with an escalator. So I don't think Randy or Jeff were capable of coming up with that. Not at all.
No.
But then, and Misty, some people said maybe it was Misty, but she had her Citizen Detective's box, and she kind of noted, you know, she investigated it, and it was made by an app, so the postmark was useless. So we could tell she was in Citizen Detective mode with that, more than trying to perhaps hide her guilt. That's my take.
Yeah, I don't think it was Misty. I think that maybe we haven't even met the sender of the postcards yet.
That is true. And just highlighting Shift's comment here, give it up for Warren Cole thirst trapping on IG in his wetsuit today. Yeah, we commented and we fully agreed with that. Warren Cole was definitely looking good. And by the way, let's just mention again how great he was on Celebrity Family Feud. Loved him. I'm so glad that they brought him on for that. That was just absolutely phenomenal. So
yeah, he was perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And Andy wants to talk about what's in that box. So let's, I know we're out of order here a little bit, but let's talk about that. So Misty and Nat are sitting at the bar. We know that, again, they were talking about the postcards. Nat's like, you know, did you send them? Misty had some other things in the box showcasing her citizen detective skills. What else did she have in the box, Emily?
She had Callie's birth certificate, Shauna and Jeff's marriage certificate, Travis's new license and his new identity, like
John Garcia in New Hampshire.
Yes. What else did we see? She had like
a magazine.
A magazine that had something about the Yellowjackets on the cover, and like a pamphlet ties for running for state senator.
That's right. So she's definitely been keeping an eye on the Yellowjackets. We did not
Yeah.
yet see anything that would have said like Van, Akila, Mari, or anybody
No.
else is alive. So I find that telling, and it makes me wonder, did we just not see it? Or is it because Misty didn't have like a line on where Van was at the time? I mean, if she went all the way out of her way to track down Travis, maybe we just didn't see the rest of the items that she had in the box, because she has to have had something on Van. We know Jessica Roberts sure did based on season 2. So I just would find it hard to believe
that Misty had stuff on Van, because when Taissa says how she tracked Van down in season 2, Misty was like, "You could have just asked me." So
oh, that's right. So she definitely did. She definitely did know. You know what?
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And yeah, Shauna and Jeff's wedding announcement in the newspaper. That was another one. And as you mentioned, Callie's birth certificate. And then this is a good question. What does the person who sent the postcards want is what Misty was asking. And Nat says, obviously a threat. Misty reacts like she knows that's not the reason. So again, I don't think Misty sent the postcards, but what is the threat?
Her reaction was strange. Like, she gets this like weird look on her face, and she like pushes up her glasses, which I think she does that when she gets nervous. So that obviously made her uncomfortable for some reason.
Yeah. And what is that reason? Is it just because she's ashamed of what they did out there? Or again, is there something bigger that will be revealed in a later season?
Yeah.
Lots of questions, Emily, as always.
Yes. We also see Taissa being really concerned about Sammy, because Sammy made all of these super creepy drawings and hung them all over his window to cover up his window. And when Ty asked, "Why did you do this?" he says, "So she can't see me." And she says, "So who can't see you?" And he says, "The lady in the tree. She watches me at night," which obviously we know now that Ty was the lady in the tree, but that doesn't explain where he got the idea for all those creepy drawings.
I mean, and some of them remind me of the man with no eyes. I mean, look at those eyes. Like that is telling to me. And then what's up with all of the eye drawings too?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things. And then the 3 hooded, strange
Standing above the
alien
bed.
people
Yeah.
above the bed. What is that all about?
And like, where did these come from? Like, where did the idea for these drawings come from? Because he's a little kid. So like, he had to have seen something that made him make these drawings, or heard somebody talking about something that made him make these drawings.
Or is it some element where he sees the man with no eyes like Ty has seen, you know, but it seems kind of bizarre to me that would be the case. So you actually just wrote an article for our cord cutting page on the many faces of Ty, and talk about how she's inadvertently traumatizing her son, which by the way, everybody go read that at cordcutting.com/yellowjackets-hive, just dropped today. You do not want to miss it. And you delved into a little bit more about what we know about Ty. Is it supernatural? We talked about the man with no eyes. So you covered all kinds of things there, and it just all ties back to like, what is the deal with Sammy though, for real? Like, where is this coming from?
The one drawing that's in the middle, like the 2 people that it looks like they're separated by something. That one like has always had me so curious, because like it almost looks like they're holding hands, but there's something in between them, and one of them has no eyes.
And it almost looks like a cannibal council costume or something, the one on the left with the hat on. Like, it reminds me of an animal pelt maybe, and then all the strings coming off of it, how we see, for instance, the antler queen with all the human hair on her.
That's a good point.
I just feel like there's definitely something more with those drawings that we're going to see. And
Yeah.
let's face it, we ended season 2 not even really knowing where Sammy is and how Simone's doing and if she even survives. I'm going to put this Yellow Jacket spoiler banner back up here again, since again we are recapping season 1, but we are also using the context of what we know from season 2. So there are some spoilers here, everybody. There are some spoilers. And Ty says, I was a loner at his age, and then it cuts to Sammy with his doll wearing similar clothes, suggesting Sammy has the other Sammy, like his mom. Interesting. I wonder if that's a dual entendre. And you know what? The doll is pictured in the photo. Let me just try to pull that one up. Here we go. Could that represent that Sammy has two sides to him like Ty does? That's something that I didn't even consider.
I never,
that's a really good point.
That never crossed my mind until right now.
Same. That's why I love live streaming so much. I feel like the interaction with everybody and getting different perspectives is great. Because let's face it, you can go down Reddit rabbit holes on Yellowjackets for days, months, weeks.
Easily.
I mean, there's just so much out there. It's hard to even consume it all. So having everybody here discussing it makes it even more exciting. I love that.
It does. Yes, I love it.
So chronologically, if you want to touch upon kind of where the episode starts, we can go from there and discuss some of those points as well.
Yeah, the episode starts with the plane actually crashing. And I always find that scene interesting because when we see the plane going down in the first episode, it's from Shauna's perspective. But when we see it in the second episode, it's from Misty's perspective, because Misty is the one that they zoom in on and show her like bracing herself, and she's the one that like is looking out the window. I always found that really interesting that they like chose to show it through two different people's perspectives.
That's true.
But I want to know if the girls ever found out themselves if like why the plane crashed. Like, were they ever given a reason? Because in a later episode of season 1, we see Shauna Google herself. And in that, in Googling herself, an article comes up and it looks like it pertains to a lawsuit. And the lawsuit specifically mentions Laura Lee and Lottie. So it like something happened like after the crash, like they had to have been given like a settlement or something like that. But like, were they ever given a reason as to why it crashed, or is the reason like unknown forever? Because we also know after season 2 that they were over 600 miles off course, off their flight path, which is a really like, that's a lot.
That is a lot. It sure is. So what's up with that? And also, how does Lottie's dad have so much money? I'm really curious to know. You know, we do end up seeing a flashback of her at some point sitting in the back seat around the Exxon Valdez oil spill time, her dad talking about it. Maybe it's oil money. I don't know. But to have enough to charter a private plane for your daughter's soccer team, there's definitely more to that story. And then to also be able to have the means to send her to Switzerland for XYZ amount of years and, you know, institutionalize her. So, what's up with Lottie's parents? Interesting. We never met them. We only met the maid.
Well, we see them in the car, but we don't really meet them.
That's right. That's right. And it wasn't in this episode. It was, I think, episode like 6. Yep. Okay. So yeah, we do see them, but not in the pilot or in this episode. So correct.
Very, very brief.
And we get to meet Adam Martin. And now that he's gone, again, like we talked about earlier, will there still be more impact from Adam, or is that a dead horse? I don't know.
Like we've said, there are just so many things about him that make him so suspicious. Like, if they really were just making him a red herring, like, they did a really, really, really good job, because that art studio is like next level, like the stuff that he has in there. And
oh my God, it's like, he has to have been working on that for so long. Like, he didn't just make those paintings from the time he met Shauna until the time where he met his untimely death.
So, like, did he know that Shauna existed before they met? Like, that's another question I have, because for the amount of artwork that he has, like, that's intense for only knowing someone for like a couple weeks.
Oh, super, super intense. And this is the part where Natalie and Misty are talking about the symbol. And Natalie says, how could he know about,
She points to the
the
symbol.
symbol? And does this mean that they'll eventually be giving the symbol more meaning within the group? Did they find out what it meant? Or are they just using it? I mean, we saw Taissa using it, drawing on Simone's hand when she's in the hospital in the second season. So that makes me think that they end up seeing it as more of a mode of protection versus a warning sign. But at the same time, which we'll get into more eventually, the sleepwalking and the trees and whatnot and the symbols, they're specifically placed there. And then we learn the symbols make this overarching map from the trees marking each location. They form the shape of the symbol. So we still don't have an answer on the symbol. We did a whole episode about it before season 2, though. So that's on our YouTube. Do not miss that. It was a good one.
It was.
Yeah.
Also, when we get to the point where we see Coach Martinez's body in the tree and Travis climbs up the tree to get to him, right before the branch breaks and like his body falls to the ground, a lot of people speculated that his dad like reaches out his arm towards him and like is like calling for him. And I've watched that scene so many times, like trying to see that. And I don't see it. Like
I don't see it either.
It being like gravity, like his arm going up because his body was falling, not because he was still alive. Like I can't see somebody like surviving, being thrown out of an airplane and impaled by a branch like that. Like it was going through like major organs. Like I don't think he was still alive at that point.
I don't think so either. I feel like in different shows I've watched too, there's something where once a body is dead, there's still a small amount of time where it can have muscle movements or something from like the settling of the death. This is not the medical term, obviously, but so it could have just been some kind of a muscular twitch or something too. And he was already gone and it had to do with that. I'm no autopsy tech or whatever, but just saying it's possible.
Yeah.
Possible. Yeah. But yeah, the whole when we finally hear Travis talk, by the way, your article, you have another article that's going to be coming out on Travis and how he was such a polarizing character. And the introduction we get to him, I mean, even the first line he gives to Natalie in the pilot or the F sharp, he's such a dick. Like he's just such a dick from the get-go. And again, we don't know him from before. We didn't see any high school scenes with Travis. So he could just have been a dick all the time, or maybe this is his coping mechanism. We've talked about that with Mari too. Like she comes out of her shell more in the second season and comes off as kind of, rude at times. And I wonder if that's her coping mechanism. Same with Travis. But Travis definitely sets the tone kind of early, like being a dick. But it's hard to tell if it's because of the trauma or if that's just who he is.
Yeah, I really wonder that too, because they all go through a lot. But when you look at everything that Travis goes through, like he goes through almost more than the girls go through. Like he loses a lot out there.
He definitely does.
They all lose stuff. Like, and obviously Shauna goes through something super traumatic as well. But like he had a really rough go.
He sure did. And I mean, you've got to have some sympathy for him. I know in season 1, he was very much hated. We also got to interview Kevin Alves before season 2 started. Don't miss that as well. It's on our YouTube. And he talked about being an unlikable character, and he played one so well. And I mean, by the end of season 2, I feel like I was a lot more sympathetic towards him in his situation than I was at the get-go. Like night and day. I mean,
for sure.
How could you not be? But I'm curious to know if other people still dislike him as strongly as they did in season 1. So
yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is Travis in their same grade? That's a good question. We don't even know for sure if he even went to Wiscayoc High School with them. His dad, of course, coached there, but we never saw Travis at the high school at any time, right? Did we? I don't think so.
But he said Bobby Farley made fun of him, and Bobby Farley went to their school.
That's right.
He definitely went to their school. I don't know if he was in the same grade as them, but he at least went to their school.
Good point, Emily. Gosh,
Yeah.
thank you for remembering things. There's so much. I mean, I just watched the episodes, but I forgot all about the whole Flex situation, which you touch upon in your article that will be coming out on our cord cutting page very soon. So, yes, a little bit of symbol talk. After season 2, there was some speculation that maybe Taissa was the one who carved the symbols into the trees she found when she was sleepwalking. But your thought is that because we see the symbols so early on, that they were all already there. And I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I know it looks like the one that we see when we first see it looks freshly carved, but it would be a big stretch, I think, for Taissa to have they'd only been there for a day or two to already have started sleepwalking and carving symbols that she didn't even know about into a tree, because they don't see the symbol for the first time until they go to the cabin. We see it, but they don't see it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And, again, I think one of the big things that happened, some of them are sitting around the fire. They end up falling asleep. Eventually, Misty goes out and finds the black box and destroys it, and hears the other girl saying, how important she is. And thank goodness she has all this information on how to deal with things. And it just really goes to show, again, I'm a Misty person. It really shows how desperate she is to fit in. The fact that she would destroy what she thinks is their hope of getting rescued to purposely stay out there in the wilderness with this group of people that really doesn't even like her. And she definitely knows that. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a big deal to me, the whole destroying the flight recorder box. And we know she ends up telling somebody in season 2, Crystal, that she destroyed the box, and then realized, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah. And then we all know where Crystal ended up. So it makes me think that she never speaks of it again after that. And very likely that none of the adult Yellowjacket survivors know she did that. And I wonder if that will ever come up again. Will she tell Walter? If I can see her telling anybody, I can maybe see her telling Walter. And then what would Walter do with that information? Just say, oh no, you're a closer, it's all good, or is he gonna be like, that actually is kind of over the edge, it might be worse than killing somebody. So we'll see.
Yeah
We will see. Oh, and then Andy said too,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's no suggestion that Ty shifted to other Ty after the crash and before the symbol is there. I mean, was Ty other Ty before the crash? We never saw it, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But we don't know at what point, what triggers it. Is it the nutritional deficiencies? Because we see her eating the dirt eventually.
Yeah, because she tells Simone at one point in season 1, after the crash, I started sleepwalking as a result of the trauma. So I don't think that she sleptwalked before that happened.
But she did have some other things happening to her, like seeing the man with no eyes, which tends to make me think maybe this is like a trauma-induced thing, the fugue states, perhaps. I mean, her grandmother was dying. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Not positive. But we will be interviewing the man with no eyes from season 2 at some point. So we are very excited for that. So in the second episode, Emily, what was your favorite scene?
When Laura Lee tells the group that she's the reason why they crashed, because she called her piano teacher a bad name in her head and God heard her.
Oh my God. To think she has that power. I mean, it's really funny, but she must have been feeling guilty about it, obviously, for her to bring it up. But that was really funny. And hearing all their confessions, Lottie with her TJ Maxx bucks gets me every single time. I feel like TJ Maxx needs to use Courtney Eaton for one of their ads. I mean,
they totally should.
We need to have some sort of TJ Maxx Lottie collaboration situation. And the fact that Laura Lee used the C word, that's
what made it.
It's a pretty serious word. I don't ever use the C word unless it is very well warranted. Rarely used in my vocabulary, but there are times. Just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And back to the Ty thing again too, with the leg break. Ty, I didn't know or mean to hurt her, to Shauna, about the leg break. Was it possible that she went into her fugue state during that time and we just didn't
Yeah.
realize it? Could that be an example of a time she was in one of her states and we didn't know? It's possible.
Yeah, I think it's possible that she's been in a state and we weren't aware that she was in a state like at that time. Because we do see her like when she's in the car with Simone in season 2, we do see her like this look goes through her eyes and then they crash the car.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like, okay, that part of Ty took over for that moment and caused them to crash.
Yeah. I mean, that was hard to watch. And again, we still don't know the fate of Simone, but I think for me, my favorite part of F Sharp was Nat coming for Misty with the shotgun. I loved that scene. I thought it was fantastic. And I also thought the subtle humor of Shauna asking Callie to defrost the chuck was really funny, because there's all these meat references and we see her, then butchering the rabbit, which
Yep.
again, there's a lot of rabbit symbology also. We start to see, the animal symbology coming out. And of course, that
Mhm.
carries on through as well. And there were some funny lines in the second episode. Poor Misty getting bullied with her whole opinion is the wilderness between knowledge and ignorance. I thought that was funny.
I love that part.
And then Van with all of her sea breeze and the corn nuts and her comic relief. Again, it's so nice to see early Yellowjackets Van, who is still has hope in her heart and humor, and descending into this like, hey, probably the person that suggested they pick cards to hunt each other. So
Yeah.
wow, quite the thing,
transformation.
quite the transformation. Yeah. Yes. And then another thing I liked was a Misty moment where her and Nat were going to go on the road trip, and she asks her if she likes podcasts or show tunes. It just, for me, really mirrored the road trip with Walter. And
Yeah.
I just kind of appreciated that, Misty and her whole road trip vibe.
I loved how she was like, I always buy 2 of things so that I can share.
That's right. Oh my God, I love that. Most disturbing thing in this episode for you, Emily, would you say it was Coach Martinez falling out of the tree or Misty chopping off Coach Ben's leg? It's the leg for me.
I think it would have to be the tree for me, honestly. Like, because I mean, if he wasn't dead when he fell from that tree, like they watched him die. Like they all watched him die. And that would be something that you would probably never get out of your head. Like just the sight of him like on the ground alone. Like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you. And just overall in the first 2 episodes, I think we can all appreciate and agree that the 90s references are just fantastic. I love that there was a mention of Kelly Kapowski. Saved by the Bell was like one of my favorite 90s shows, along with Beverly Hills 90210, but also the music. The
Yeah.
music from episode 1. Emily, name all of these amazing gems from Yellowjackets pilot.
So we have Today by the Smashing Pumpkins, Shoot by Salt and Pepper, Let Me Find Out by Post Neg, Supernova by Liz Phair, Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Miss World by Hole, Informer by Snow, What If by, is that Dore Soul?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Counting Backwards, Throwing Muses, Never Tear Us Apart, Paloma Faith, and Down by the Water, PJ Harvey. So many bangers.
The music was really like one of the main things that really drew me into Yellowjackets, that and the 90s references. But the music,
yeah,
everything about it is just so good. I've said this 1,000 times and I will continue to say it because I am obsessed. And
Yeah.
episode 2, also really good. Hold On, Wilson Phillips, Cherished Nostalgia, Devin S. Norris, Medusa, Noonday Devils, Confetti, BN, Kick It, Peaches, love that song, and Glory Box by Portishead. So such a good repertoire of music. And
Yeah.
These first 2 episodes, every time I go and watch again, I notice new things. I appreciate new things more. And I'm curious to know, for those tuning in and watching later, like, what are some of the things that you either noticed on your rewatch that you didn't notice the first time, or something that you just can appreciate so much more now than you did the first time through? Do you have some of those, Emily?
I mean, it's really everything about the pilot, like watching it after watching season 2 just makes me view everything about it in such a different light, knowing everything that we know about all these characters. Like, there's still a lot that we don't know, but a lot of our like blanks have been filled in, and it just makes it so much different to rewatch it after that fact. So there's not really one in particular. Like, I would honestly just say, like, if I had to pick one of the episodes, it would definitely be the pilot.
Yeah.
That I like. The pilot was one of my favorite episodes of the series so far.
I completely agree. And one thing in the pilot that we saw was, of course, the Cannibal Council, and we still really don't know exactly, who's there. Now we used to think maybe the rabbit was Javi. Of course, now we know that it's not Javi, but there's one more survivor that we're just still not really sure of. And to the point of when you see the Cannibal Council walk up, they all have 2 legs, right?
Yep.
So we can say Coach Ben is not there. However, we now know that Coach Ben is hiding out in a cave. So that would explain why he's not there. So there actually could be Coach Ben surviving somewhere separately, and then the other survivor here. So could it be Mari? Could it be Akila? Could it be Jen? Could it be Melissa? We will still find out. And we saw some new extras in season 2 also. So likely those are candidates to be eaten, of course.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
I don't think they're going to be eating anybody. And I don't think this whole pit girl scene happens until the second winter, though, because now at this point, they're going to have Javi to eat, which they'll probably preserve some of him and, keep it in the meat shed. Actually, the meat shed probably burned down since it was next to the cabin. But, I wonder if that means that Javi's body is destroyed too, or if they can eat it.
I don't think the meat shed burned down.
You don't think the meat shed burned down?
That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. But I feel like if they have Javi and then spring comes and they're able to hunt animals, are they going to be doing this ritual when they don't need to? Or are they going to keep it up because they feel like that's what it wants? So
will there be like some kind of a truce almost? Yeah.
For the springtime until the weather gets bad again. And then, the whole show description was they divide into warring clans. So at some point we expect them to be in clans, being full-on cannibals. We've seen the soft cannibalism, kind of the medium cannibalism, as our friend Ro Rusak pointed out from Nerdist when we had her on. And I think the hard stuff will be coming during that second winter. So I wonder where are they going to live? Where are they going to find shelters? All of these are questions from season 2. But even after watching season 1, episode 1 and 2 again, there's still so many questions. And that's the best part about the show. We can go back and do a whole rewatch and still not know exactly what we're talking about because we don't have all the answers. So not every show is like that.
Yeah, that's so true.
James is asking, any word on the 10th episode? Well, not officially, but we did drop an exclusive video on our cord cutting page. By the way, you can also subscribe to Cord Cutting on YouTube, youtube.com/@cordcutting. Our first video we did for them covered our speculation on the bonus episode, where we heavily think they're going to use that Jason Ritter footage and have it be a Cabin Daddy backstory. So that's our take. We don't know when it will be. The way Ashley Lyle talked about it made it sound like it can't happen during the writers or actors strike, which means maybe there's more that needs to be written or filmed for it. Maybe they don't have enough footage for the complete episode, because she said it would be closer to season 3. So probably not getting it for a while. Although I've got to say, there would be no better a holiday gift than a holiday episode of Yellowjackets. So we can, of course, hold out hope. But I don't think it's going to be this holiday season. So
no, I don't think so either. Not with the fact that the strike is still going on.
I know. So yeah. One more thing from Shift here. If they split, I think the other group would have to be none of the adults we've experienced so far. And that is a good point. Maybe this Cannibal Council is the group that gets to eat the meat and did the hunting, and the other people, like Survivor or something, or one of those reality shows, are like banished to some other part with no food and hope that they survive until the next feast. So really interesting questions. The Cannibal Council's and Pit Girl are definitely two things we still don't have answers on. So
No,
Wah,
and I
wah.
don't know if we'll get those answers even in season 3.
Yep, that's right. And Dustin said, I believe the bonus episode will happen about a month before season 3. That would certainly be a way to build some incredible hype.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And by the way, I can't wait for season 3. We're going to, of course, bring back our Hive After Dark live after show, which we will discuss our immediate reactions. And who knows, maybe we'll end up getting screeners and we can do it sooner, but we're not sure. We'll ask, of course, but
Yeah.
nothing is guaranteed. But either way, we make it work, don't we, Emily?
Of course.
Yes, we
Of
do.
course.
All right. Everybody, last chance. Let me pull up this photo here of our Yellowjackets Hive, and we also have a Hive After Dark shirt. We are going to give a t-shirt away for everybody who has dropped 3 soccer ball emojis. That is your entry. We will randomly select one of you and we will announce it on social media. Shift actually won our last live stream giveaway. He won some exclusive Viva La Van stickers. So hope you enjoy those, Shift. But you can also buy our merch at yellowjacketshiveshop.com. You can buzz into
ordering something from the shop.
Love the Cannibal Council design. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Love that. And you know what? We've got some other good ones. Like I said, we've got this Wish You Were Here. We've got the We Hear the Wilderness and It Hears Us. What's for Dinner? We've also got that on an apron. Love that one too. We've got a couple of different versions of Spill. All kinds of merch available at yellowjacketshiveshop.com. We also have a Patreon. We've got 2 tiers, both very affordable, $3 and $6. Patreon.com/yellowjacketshive podcast. And we appreciate all of our supporters. Seriously, you guys have all been so amazing and we can't thank you enough. So thank you for that. And our next live stream will be episodes 3 and 4 from season 1. We'll do it in the same way. There will be some spoilers. We're going to recap and more than anything, just kind of analyze and keep the speculation going. Yeah. That's what we're here for.
Yes, of course. All right. So until we spill again.